That's James's meal for today. And top of the stack was Spy in the Wild. It was great. And I'm going to talk about these other things also. And I did make notes for one of the things. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, James has some books to review too, so I'm going to have to try to be quick about this. Very windy. Okay, so Spy in the Wild. This was narrated by David Tennant. It's another BBC thing. And basically they made these little pretend animals that have like robotic movements and camera eye and stuff like that, so that they could stick them and get some real close-ups of animal behavior. And I laughed so many times. This was awesome. Animals are so cute.
They can be.
Yeah. So I loved watching this. My dad would have loved it. Your dad would have loved it. I feel bad that your dad didn't live long enough to see this thing. Maybe he did. Maybe he watched it. It was 2017. He might have. Probably not. But anyway, it was wonderful. It was wonderful to watch. And I mean, they look real. The fake animals, especially the tortoise one. I thought that one looked really realistic. And honestly, I liked chimpanzees a lot more before I watched this, though. I didn't realize they ate bush babies. Yeah. Who would eat a bush baby? They're so cute.
You know, I think they have canines and stuff like that. Yeah. So it came as a revelation. They've known about this for generations, maybe a couple of generations or something like that. They used to think that they were, you know, like peaceful and peace-loving, and then they found out that they had kind of like, they protected areas and they go and have wars with each other and stuff like that. Of course, the nifty, shifty, hefty, I can remember the one guy, physicist at the University of Lethbridge, a Japanese who'd been a communist and was pretty well a communist anyway after. He when I mentioned that to him, he said, "Oh, that's just because they're picking up behavior from."
Yeah, I don't think so.
It's
just
from the
human nature and chimpanzee nature.
Yeah, like they learned it off Jane Goodall.
So anyway, Human Nature. This one was put out in 2019. It's a PBS Nova thing. So I wrote some notes down because it's pretty interesting. HBB gene, the letter A is changed to letter T. This prevents the protein from folding properly, which prevents the protein from feeding tissues with oxygen. In Africa, the red blood cells. In Africa, life expectancy is 5 to 8 years for somebody with sickle cell anemia. In the US, it's the early to mid 40s. The first gene therapy trials weren't working well. The genes were getting into the wrong places and caused cancer. DNA strands lie in pairs. They're called sister strands and they are identical. If one strand has a break with missing chromosomes, they can copy the missing chromosomes from the sister. And then the one guy gave a haiku, which I thought was cute, about homology-directed repair. He said, so chromosome broken awaits sounds of strands pairing, preserving life's thread. I thought that was cute. If you can create a break at a place of interest, you can replace that gene. Food producers are interested in CRISPR because bacteria are involved in making a lot of foods. Producers were having problems with their bacteria culture suddenly dying due to a viral infection. Virus attaches to the cell surface and injects its DNA into the cell, using the cell as a factory to make more viruses. The cell dies. The spacers in the genetic code are all different. When they looked at the spacers in a bacteria culture that hadn't died due to viral infection, they found that a spacer was identical to a bit of viral DNA. CRISPR is an adaptive immune response. Cas9 stores viral DNA. Like a most wanted poster, if it finds the viral DNA, it cuts the DNA strand. There are people who can get by on 4 hours sleep. One gene makes it possible. There is one gene that makes a person that doesn't feel pain. Chinese teams have been working on human gene altering. The
What
Altered
time?
DNA is
Thank you,
not
Chinese
passed on to
researchers.
future generations. The offspring of a treated person may still get sickle cell, for example. The Noble Sperm Bank offered superior sperm for free, but few women took that opportunity. Women tended to pick a donor that looked much similar to their spouse. Having a sickle gene is protective against malaria. Mosquitoes and malaria in sub-Saharan Africa made having the sickle cell gene beneficial. On November 2018, reports surfaced that CRISPR was used to alter the DNA of twin girls born in China. It marked the first time in history that humans edited the genetic code of a future generation. Now, I will say that I already mentioned that this was put out by PBS Nova, not China, right? So there was mention of China throughout this thing, and there was also, they showed Putin and they talked about Hitler and stuff like that, like Putin talking about, that it would be possible to enhance musical ability or this ability or build like super army men or whatever, and you're listening to that going, oh no, right? But honestly, as much as like when I heard, oh, China made some twin genetically altered girls or whatever, I was thinking, okay, but would it only be China? Who else would be doing it? Wouldn't other countries be doing it too? I don't know. I mean, we're not hearing about it, but whatever.
Putin's enthused, so they'd be working on it.
Yeah.
India is going that route. They're Nazis in control there, and
Well,
it's a borderline democracy, but less and less.
So anyway,
things are not looking good for
all
the
I'm
world.
saying is, it's just when you watch a documentary video, just think of where it's coming from, and is there an underlying message or whatever, just with anything, right? So I'm saying take it with a grain of salt, whatever. But it got second in the stack for me. I thought it was very informative, and I think other people will enjoy watching it too. So James watched Lions, Bones, and Bullets.
Parts of it.
And I will watch more later. But I actually thought, from what little bit I was listening to while I was making James's food, I thought, well, they didn't really do a bad job. It's informative, and people got to know this stuff.
Yeah,
so,
it was too informative. I kind of lost a little bit of my appetite.
Well, it was about people who are killing lions, selling bones to the Chinese.
China again! Wow! Clash of civilizations.
For Chinese
The
medicine.
People's Republic of China is not a civilization. Civilization is one thing. It's increasing enlightenment. And China is not going that route. Russia is not going that route. We're not clashing with another civilization when we clash with Russia, Putin's Russia. And I'm telling you, Modi, and India under Modi is not another civilization. We'll be clashing with it, but it is not going the route of civilization.
But the first thing that James said when he was watching this is they've kind of missed the message. They've kind of missed what's going on. They're saying, okay, well, they're focusing on China buying these tiger bones from farms in South Africa, and then the farms they're Laos and Vietnam and stuff, at line farms anyway. But they were primarily focusing on South Africa here. And James said, well, they're missing the point.
They're missing lots of points, but one of them was, go ahead.
That the lions are losing their habitat. They're just being, more and more people are taking over whatever land the lions have left to live on, and they were saying that, I mean, really, people just have to decide. Do you want more people? Because you're going to end up having to eat human waste, recycled, and human meat, recycled. That's what the end. You got to think. Okay, well, what's going to happen in the future? Well, if you keep using up all of the other resources on the earth, and all there is left is more and more humans, where's it going to go? I mean, we're talking about, oh, well, increase life expectancy, cure all these diseases and whatever. Okay, well, they talked about malaria at the end. Having sickle cell gene is protective against malaria. Mosquitoes and malaria in sub-Saharan Africa made having the sickle cell gene beneficial. So everything, really, you have to wonder, well, is there a benefit to it? And they talked to the young boy throughout the show who was getting treatment, presumably in the United States, right? And he, at the end, you know, they were asking him, well, they asked him about the possibility, what he thought about the possibility of having not only you treated for sickle cell, but your offspring. So before your offspring were even born, having their genes altered so they didn't have it. And he was like, well, I'm glad that I had sickle cell because it made me a much more patient person and this and that. And he's talking about it like it made me who I am. You know, I'm glad that I had it. And I don't think he said, I don't think it's up to me. It would be up to my offspring whether they wanted themselves altered. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is a child who's thought that through. And one thing he said, and they left it in, I think, for a reason, but I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm thinking a little bit negatively towards PBS Nova with this, but they left it in when he said, like they asked him if he wanted to have children, and he said, well, I have lots of siblings, so I don't think, you know, I'm not thinking, maybe down the road I might think that way, but I'm not thinking that way now, you know. And I think that they left that lots of siblings thing in for a reason, but I don't know, right? So it's something to think about. If you're wanting to choose to have lots and lots of children, should your life expectancy be the same as somebody who chooses to have one or two children?
Absolutely not.
Why would it be fair that you should have 20 and get to have a life expectancy? So now all your 20 children get to have a life expectancy of 100 or 120 or whatever it ends up, right? It's something to think about. And it's something that people are going to have to think hard about, or things are going to get really bad for everybody. So,
well, you know, like ultimately the countries that have low birth rates should shut off immigration from countries with high birth rates.
well,
Whoever
I
they
don't know
let
if
in.
it should be that. I think that if you sign something saying, I agree that I will only have at most 2 children.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Right?
In other
I don't
words,
see a problem
they
with
should let in educated people. It's possible to get education in other places. You know, like one of the greatest mathematicians in history, we're told, Ramanujan, taught himself with he came from India, and this is about 100 years ago. He taught himself with a textbook, just on engineering or something like that, apparently. And then I don't think he was nearly as great as he was advertised as being, but he was pretty darn good. And, you know, there's stuff available out there in so-called third world countries. People should avail themselves of what is available and get some education before they decide to beat down our doors. And, but yeah, they should sign an agreement, understanding that, they've got to understand enough English to understand it. They sign an agreement. They have per couple no more than 2 kids, per single person no more than 1 kid. If you have more than that, you're deported, and you know, like no citizenship for you or your kids. That's another thing about letting people in from elsewhere into democracies. No right of automatic citizenship for children coming from elsewhere born in the democracies. It just isn't working out. People are sneaking in and having their kids here, and they get automatic citizenship.
Okay, but one thing that James noticed right away with this video is there's some gruesome scenes right off the hop.
Well, get ready.
So, just be prepared.
So again, China is the real bad boys here, or bad, and making them seem like adolescents, bad flunkies here, okay? and it's they're replacing tiger bones, I guess, with lion bones. They don't have tiger farms, or so they say, in China. So what they've done is they've exported their bad deeds to neighboring countries like Laos and Vietnam, even not next to them, neighboring countries like Thailand. I don't think that borders with China. But China is, like people are saying, oh, immigration, refugee. What's happening in the democracies is settler colonialism. And in the case of people coming from China and from India, Hindus, and from the Muslim world, it's imperialism along with settler colonialism.
All right.
Okay?
So, Murder My Sweet. This one's a black and white movie, and I thought it was entertaining. It's a detective show, whatever. If you like detective shows, you might like it. Maya and the White Lion. So this one is about lion farm in South Africa, and it's a movie, and it's a beautiful lion. And I guess it must be some sort of albinism or something that makes them that way, but very nice. So anyway, it wasn't really well done. At one point, the girl, she's running through the shopping mall with her lion, and there's really no reason for it. She says, oh, I guess if I'm going to get there, this is what I have to do. And it's like, instead go around it.
Malls?
Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Out in the boonies. What is that?
And then
oh my God. Like there was a mall, crappy tire mall, next to the Picton farm. The whole idea was the Picton farm was, it was away in the boonies. That's why Guy got away from it. Yeah. So where's she going to, a pig farm or something like that?
No, she's going to an animal sanctuary. But anyway, that was silly. And then while she's going out the back door, she takes her hat off and throws it, and it's like, okay, why? Because later on you want to see her really hot and getting sunburnt for this lion and whatever. But why did she throw her hat away? It didn't make any sense, so there were a lot of things in this movie that really didn't make a lot of sense.
It's not Hallmark, is it?
No, but still you get to see some good scenery of Africa and whatever, and it's about, she's trying to rescue her buddy Charlie, who's this lion that was on the farm where her dad owned, and she found out that he was going to be sold to be hunted, and so that's a shiitake mushroom.
Okay.
So she wanted to save Charlie. So this is the story about saving Charlie. But again, it's who the bad guys are going to what they're going to look like, and who the good guys, what they're going to look like. So, but she happens to be blonde. So whatever. But it wasn't at the bottom of the stack. Spinning Gold. This was the bottom of the stack yesterday, but it turns out that I like these other ones less. So this movie, what I had a problem with really was that it's a movie about musicians. You can see Kiss, and there's Donna Summer, and
okay.
Parliament, Gladys Knight,
Parliament Funkadelic,
Isley Brothers, the Village People. So they talk about all these bands that were huge in there's a deer over there eating in the yard.
There we go.
Yeah, pretty cute. I should show you.
Yeah, you should show the folks at home before the camera clicks out.
Anyway, the record producer that was in charge of all of those. There's the deer. Oh, we're talking. It's okay, dear. You can go back to eating.
Yeah, it's okay.
So, the record producer was going into serious debt trying to get these bands trying to promote these bands. He obviously wasn't doing a great job for a while because he went in debt $6 million something, or it was a huge amount anyway.
He's borrowing from his frenemies.
Yeah, so things got exciting. But honestly, there was enough story here. The story was interesting enough, and a lot of people like watching movies about musicians and whatever. But the music wasn't up to snuff. Now, it's not that the musicians that they picked were really awful. They weren't. They were pretty good musicians. They just weren't as good as the original, or different. They sounded different. So it wasn't convincing. And the worst part was Donna Summer for me, because she was hot. And in this movie, she did not look like
She was
Donna
not.
Summer. Well, she was a pretty lady, but she was kind of chunky, you know, and Summer was not. So just didn't look like Donna Summer. So, and that was a lot of the appeal, I think. I mean, hot woman singing like she's having orgasms.
I think that
Whatever.
song was called "Love to Love You, Baby."
Yeah.
And I think that's about all it was
Yeah.
just her vocalizing and then doing that.
So, Jungle Animal Rescue. This is actually one day overdue already at the library, because I'd forgotten to watch. Well, I kept meaning to watch it, but I'd put it on at first and I thought, this is stupid. And so it's like one of those real life made exciting kind of, here we're rescuing animals and da 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 da, and it's rescuing animals in India, and it's like, okay, I'm looking at their fancy vehicles and stuff like that, and they have some volunteer vets and stuff like that, which that's great. But obviously this is costing a lot of money to care for these animals. The vehicles aren't coming from nowhere. The land that they're putting, the sanctuary for the animals, and all this, the infrastructure in place for the x-rays and all that, it's coming from somewhere. So who's funding this? And this is put on by National Geographic. And one thing that bothered me right away is they have some people that sound like they came, like Caucasian people that sounded like they came from the United States, that are volunteers for the organization in India. But I'm thinking, okay, why do they have them talking like India mansplaining or whatever, like for the people from India? People from India, they speak English really well a lot of the time, and the ones that were featured in this did. So why are we listening to the white hosts instead of the Indian hosts? It kind of creeped me out. And so anyway, it took me a long time to watch it, and I sat down and I watched it all today. And I didn't like it. I still didn't like it. But it's nice to see some animals getting rescued, but then I think, okay, well, is this sustainable? Is it really? I mean, you have them rescuing some ancient tiger and an ancient elephant who was, has like, when she walks, her knee makes a terrible crunching noise, and she's in rough shape, and I'm just thinking, okay, well, who's putting up the money, and how is this sustainable? I just, as much as I want animals to, like, I would love to set up an animal sanctuary for songbirds or something like that, right? That'd be lovely.
Or for deer.
Yes.
I mean, I was worried about that deer just before I decided to step in the
Oh, did somebody
alleyway.
go by?
Someone just went ripping by.
Yeah.
We had a dog who got hit by a cyclist coming down this
Yeah.
alley, and boy, oh boy, I didn't think he'd recover. He never really entirely recovered, but
Yeah, I had him leashed up, but
we thought we'd have to put him down.
anyway. So, but he worked out. I had to hold him up while he did his business outside for months.
Pretty good. It's
'Cause
amazing he
he'd just
recovered.
fall over, right? He couldn't do it, but it worked out. So, anyway, I did like seeing some of the rescues, like the python, because I can't imagine that, you know, they got him out of an area where there were lots of people, and people do silly things, and they might have killed him. But and they put him somewhere where he'd be out in the wild, whatever. But the wild's getting smaller and smaller, especially in places like India. What do you do? Is
I
this
just
the
shrug about
solution
it.
in India?
I just shrug about it. The population is increasing so fast.
Yeah.
China did something about their population for quite a while, and then India started catching up, and so they took the controls off on the population. Sometimes. Yep.
So, anyway.
Don't ask us to rescue you.
And gun crazy at the end. This was terrible. It was really bad. I mean, they could redo it as a comedy, maybe. And, but I don't know how they could modernize it with the guy having, like, bringing his gun to school and showing it to all his friends. And I don't, because now they have, like, they could set it in Canada or something, because we don't have the x-rays that kids go through to get to school now, so that they can't bring their guns and knives in or whatever. But anyway, no, it was just bad, not worth doing. So you can go ahead and review your thing. Yeah.
Feels like it's 3 minutes.
Yep, that's what you got. You're getting good at this. So you might be able to review one.
A minute for each one.
Yeah. Oh dear. Sorry.
It's okay.
Right
Anyway, here's 3 books that I finished recently. This one, I think it was today. Anyway, Isaac Asimov. Asimov. The Universe, from Flat Earth to Quasar. Quasi-stellar object, I think quasar is short for. So stay tuned. Alexander and A Street, this is a Pelican book put out by Penguin. And Metals in the Service of Man. And it's kind of like, this Isaac Asimov thing is kind of like a history of astronomy. This is a bit like a history of the use of metals by humankind. And then this is A Forgotten Kingdom by so-called Sir. I'm just going to call him Leonard Woolley. And because Sir is a title that I don't recognize, it's a sign of respect that hasn't necessarily been earned for me. So this is about Alalak, a place that was excavated by Woolley about 100 years ago, and it's in Syria now, probably. Well, it's center probably of the Alawite dictatorship there. And I'll be dealing with those in the future sometime. Stay tuned.